You're off. Your microphone's off, G. Gina, your microphone's off. Yeah. My morning burps.
Sorry, that was my daughter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sitting here waiting for you, and he made it live, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like burping and stuff. And
Oh my God.
So we're our real selves here in this.
You're live.
In the morning when I drink my water, I burp, and you know that's.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Part of how the sensuousness moves, right?
Yeah. Okay. Where's Rashad? Oh, he's locked out of his building.
Yeah. Right. Normal Rashadness. So God bless his persistence and his resilience. God bless him. God bless him. Really. I appreciate him so much. I really do. I mean, I'm transforming into 3 diamonds, so I'm really trying to grow compassion for what's trying to happen. I'm a little nervous, but I'm watching and I'm like, keep the focus, keep the rhythm, shit's going to come at you. Stuff's going to come at you. But Gina, I heard something this week. I've been dying to talk to you about it. Molly McCord, she's my girl. And she said that her business was her spiritual partner. I was like, oh, wow. Because you think about this romantic way that's even like twin flames and union of the parts. You hear so much right now how it's like, we can't get rid of one to have the other. They all come together. Like everyone, people who know me well say, Maddie is as dark as she is light. We're all of it. You know what I mean? Everything's in there. Mm-hmm. So when we think of it like that, our spiritual union is the union of everything inside of us. And if we can use the focus, if I can use the focus towards my business as my spiritual partner, meaning my expression into the collective, I just found it to be really exciting, a different way of thinking about it that didn't necessarily make me feel like I'm a workaholic or I'm always working. It's like, that is my spiritual practice. Doing my work is my way of being spiritual and showing up.
Mm-hmm. I felt that since the day I discovered my energy, my card being a Jack of Hearts, and I was like, that's what I do. So it really, I can wholeheartedly connect to that because it's like my baby. It's something that I curated. It's something I, and so, yeah, I'm very connected to it. I fought for it. Shit. So, yeah. And so, yeah, I can totally see it. Cause I think too, I've always said, if you do something you love, you don't work. You don't work. I mean, I work every day, but it's a different type of work. It's a different type of mission than it is going and not to knock people who work a 9 to 5 or work, for somebody else. I did that for a long time too. So, but it's a different kind of work. It's a different kind of purpose. It's a different kind of mission for me. And I've never been money has not always been the outcome, the focus for me. I just want to help people. That's always been my thing, to help them understand how important, magnesium is for their health. And, I've had people reach out to me and I give cream, I barter and trade. I'm not attached to it, holding on to it. I literally can give it here you go, here you go, here you go. I'm always you need and I know it all comes back. So I've never been in fear of not, receiving that abundance, because too, as well, it doesn't mean I don't have to work at it. I can't just sit here all day on my ass and not expect, business to grow. Mm-hmm. But, because it comes from here, because it is a spiritual mission or a spiritual partner, I feel like as long as the universe will match your energy. in how you go forth in that. So yeah, if I sit around and not do anything, my sales would reflect that.
Yeah, definitely.
So
One of the co-creators with us at Growing with the Seasons is Rainey Ford. She's a human design person. And she and I were chatting the other day in what she calls conversations, and she calls it plurking. Like, like, so it's play and working, plurking, or plurk. And I was like, totally. She's like, let's leave it like that, because as soon as it gets like this pressure, because that's where the ego comes to play, right? This idea of yourself that has to be expressed this way. Whereas when you're just freely giving and then freely receiving, you're plurking, you're playing, you're working, you're getting it done, you're sharing, you're having fun. I mean, why not? Why does it have to be such a struggle to accept all the parts of whatever you got to do?
Right. And I think, like, I've had people come to me and be like, how did you start? What did you do? I was like, it was a drive inside me. It was a mission inside me. And, that's always been my goal. Because I've never run a business before, and I just celebrated 8 years, and that's incredible for someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to help people, and it worked in a way that I would get out there and do, farmers markets when I started, and I grew to bigger shows, and and word of mouth is great, I mean, because and I'm just grateful because I get a lot of comments, I get a lot of feedback, and that fills me more than the money aspect of it, because I know something that I created has helped somebody else, and they'll tell me their stories. They'll literally like pour out all their health stuff too, and it's and even if it's not my product, which I've never even been like, I remember one person said, I remember one time I was helping somebody like with different forms of magnesium, and they're like, but that's not what you sell. I'm like, who cares? Like, as long as they get whatever they need, if it's if it's a pill form or if it's a drip, whatever, that's always been my mission. So I think that's why I've been in business for 8 years and not knowing what I'm doing, because I've always had that, like, it's a heart thing, it's very much about my heart. And
the thing is, we want to see the pulse through the people too. Like, I mean, when you say help people, there's that sacrifice energy that gets like that flag in it, right? That whole idea of I just want to serve. But the thing is, by serving others, we're serving ourselves, right? Because the healthier everybody is around us, the healthier the environment is for us to grow in. So that's, to me, the way that it segues. And like you, I mean, when I, had postpartum when I was younger, I started to dream about trees and started to talk about them. And then when I went and worked at the rehabs and the hospitals for like 10 years, I recognized that there was a way that people weren't growing from the inside out. They were growing from the outside in, and they weren't understanding themselves, and their motivations were confused by people pleasing, So when I opened up Growing with the Seasons in 2010, it was a sheltering tree to inspire growth from within. It was a center for inspiration. And I now realize that it was inspiration for me because I made so many connections to so many people, and that my business coaches will tell me now, you're the tree, like you're growing with the seasons, like you're that thing. So it becomes part of you because you live it as your life. You know what I mean? It's your way of showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it really showed, like, I think when you are operating a business, I say it's like riding a roller coaster with no seatbelt, no fasten anything, it's a free ball. And it's up and down all over the place. And it does take a lot of discipline. I think that's what I've learned about myself the most, is because I can be very like lackadaisy and I'll do it later. I procrastinate, but this, you can't. I mean, you could, but you would, I could sit around and not do anything all day, but that's not conducive to my mission of, educating as many people as I can about the magnesium or the minerals or just your health. So, and it essentially does grow you as a person, as someone, and I think it shows you because it can make or break you. It's not for everybody, the entrepreneurship or running a business. It's scary sometimes, because you don't like, when you have an actual job to go to, you're going to get a paycheck. That's big. You don't
Mhm.
get a paycheck here sometimes. So,
Yeah, yeah.
it definitely requires a lot of faith and a lot of discipline. I think that was probably been my biggest thing, is how disciplined I've had to be with this.
Right. And I guess that's what our will's use is, right? Like if we want to use our free will is to use our will to be disciplined to what we believe, to the values that we hold. You know what I mean? Like where do you bring your discipline? Because your discipline is your commitment to yourself. You know, so many times you also hear people say the way to trust yourself is to show up for yourself. Do what you
Yeah.
say you're gonna do.
Yeah. I would easily say this has been, out of all the things besides maybe becoming a mother, has shown me more about me than anything else,
I
you
agree.
know?
I'm with you.
Mhm.
And it is like a baby. It does grow. I mean,
Yes.
heck,
So that is
growing
one
with
of my kids, like for real, for real. Like that
right.
is a very strong part of me, because I birthed it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I birthed it, and it wasn't something that it was me, and it was my own recovery with that, with magnesium postpartum, was something I experienced with my first really bad, and I share that story all the time, and I think that's another thing too. This also kind of makes you vulnerable and raw when you're, sharing parts of you or parts of things that you've been through.
Mhm.
But I have no problem sharing and being honest about what I experienced, because I know other women do, and they're just sometimes it's really sensitive to talk about, especially after you have a baby.
Mhm.
Everybody, all the emotions and everything that happens, it can be a dark place, and it was for me with my first, and with my
Mhm.
second, I had a huge, different um, uh,
Experience.
experience, yeah, because of the magnesium, is because that was huge for me. So that's, like I said, it really does.
Well, that's
um
interesting, right? Because the magnesium helps things open and flow and you not get stuck, right? And postpartum, in my experience, so much happened, like you said, and I couldn't even process it all. Like my body just almost went into just a like dying, like things just weren't moving the same way that they were moving, and I hear you with that, not just magnesium, all the different medicines that say stay active, stay flowing, because once we get heavy hearted, I'm not saying postpartum's not real and it doesn't totally happen, because it happened a bunch of times,
oh yeah.
but there's also a way to recognize it as a normal thing that comes when you're so full and so much is happening and your body is trying to adjust to these changes. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a vast change to become a parent, like, and to have your second, your third, whatever, and your body trying to catch up with it all and all that's happening. Like, and you don't get to take care of yourself because you're taking care of someone else at the same time. So, I mean, it's just a really interesting thing, those times of life, because we can shame ourselves for it, but I hope to normalize it in my share.
There we go.
Is it a normal thing, or have we normalized chaos? Is like, what is postpartum in its totality?
It's a deficiency in minerals. Like that's the real, when you want to talk about health, the actual what it is. When you birth a baby, a whole human being, whether it's vaginal or cesarean, you lose a lot of blood. You lose a lot of minerals. So you're depleted. Then you literally have a whole newborn that needs you. If you've had a baby in a hospital, you barely sleep, because every 2 hours they're coming in to check everything, all the bells and whistles that are going off. So you get no rest. Now you're sleep deprived, and good luck trying to sleep when you have a newborn baby. So you're not even allowing your body to recover. And truthfully, go back 50, 60, 70, 80 years, women weren't going back to work, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. It takes, that's why we have that 6 weeks postpartum, because it takes that time for the uterus to go back to its place. You're kind of an open realm as well, right? And we don't take that serious in this country at all. You go to Finland, Switzerland, somewhere over there, they get a whole year
Year
paid.
for a birth, at a paid birth.
No, you get a whole year of postpartum.
Yeah, yeah. After you birth your
After
child.
you give birth, they even give I believe there's some place, it's there's paternity leave as well for the father.
That's so
Because
honoring of the children, right? It's so honoring of
yes,
the children coming in
yes,
to get presents while they grow, because that first year is so primary to who they are.
yes. I'm so like the way the mindset of birth here in this country, it's one of the big, it's a big business first and foremost. And secondly, there is no support. There's no support. afterwards, a breastfeeding journey, just even like, okay, now let's say you can be home, but your partner's gone, right? Your partner has to work probably. So now you're home by yourself. What the hell do you do with this thing?
Yeah, whenever you look at the space, just when you look at it as like the working force, right? And like the living and like life and death, ace of space, nine of space, we always associate to life and death and work, And I look at it also as like survival things you have to do on Earth outside of all the diamonds that are in Saturn. But all the diamonds transform into spades, right? Within the spiritual spread. So even looking at the spades, and just thinking about our values and how they change and just the purpose of life, what is it that we're supposed to do? And I think it's to preserve life, to understand everything that's kind of that makes us work and what gives us life and that survival, And I think because our values have fluctuated and changed so much in America, like where it's so dedicated to money, even the thought of business, I don't even look at business the same as I used to, right? I look at it as like making money and drive, but it's like here in America or just on Earth as we have created this, it's like it is your sole purpose, But I think we've have almost like I think America or just people in general have seen like people in general will naturally go through their purpose. So let's profit off of it, right? Without the understanding of what's in your purpose in its fullest point of view, right? Like even the space includes all of the cards, the hearts, diamonds, clubs, So you have to look at life and everything within that world from a 360 and everybody working together, right? Within their purpose to make this thing work. So I think our purpose here is to preserve life and to live life. And I think we have lost that 360 point of view of all the things that it takes to live life in the healthiest format. That's why I like postpartum, like what causes that? Like, is that something that we have lost the true essence in the 360 view of how it's not normal, and we normalize our own space complex of drudgery, of stepping out of alignment of what our bodies and what we should naturally do, are we preserving our life in its full essence? And we're here to kind of learn, the space or the wisdom of the body health, so we're here to learn those particular things and just kind of wrap it up. I think our purpose is to learn how to live, to learn how to preserve life and do the things that we're supposed to do to preserve our own life and to live and enjoy, and I think going into the health aspects, like dope minerals and those things is like a natural preservation of life, and working I think we all have this purpose of understanding how to survive. so yeah.
Yeah, I like that, Rashad. I hear what you're saying. I think when I say it's normal, I would say it's normal in that the way we're living now and the pace we're going, but the honoring of the 360 and the taking recognition that you're now offering your presence to another living thing and that your balance is going to create their balance and your wholeness is going to mirror their wholeness. Like that's a different way of being conscious. So I really appreciate the way you're recognizing the consciousness of how we're all connected in that 360 and that what we set up for our systems is going to need to be conscious of that if we want to evolve. Like that's my whole idea, is that I don't know what rich is going to be when things change the way they're going to change, but I know living in my wholeness and doing what I'm here to do is going to bring the most prosperity, because that's the way things line up. You get what you give, like if you're standing where you go, you're delivered what you get.
Yeah, or the process of how to get there, or how to be rich, or what we place our values on, I think that's the thing that has to change. Like the standard of value has to change. What we give our time and our money to has to
Well, it is
change.
changing. It is changing. Like when we say has to change, I'm just being a nudge, but it is changing. We're changing constantly. We're changing right now. And we can tell the story of what was, but we can also speak into the repair and the possibility, because there's shame that grows sometimes when we recognize how dumb we've been. And I wanted to say, stop it. Like, we weren't dumb. We were where we were until we weren't there anymore. And so let's be where we are, and let's start to like create from that consciousness. Because to me, every time I go back in there, I find I get in loops sometimes when I go back like that. Just for me. But I agree with you that it's about values, 100%.
I think we have to value birth, the process, what it is, how it works. It's not just, when a woman gives birth, she's at the closest, like that is like the closest you get to death. And I don't think people understand that. I don't think our medical system, doctors, I don't think people, it's lit. And I've given birth twice, and I've seen the difference of having a hospital birth, a natural birth, how certain things get pushed and forced. I mean, if I'm a whole ass, like, you're not going to force me to do something. It made so much sense when I was like, that's why I fought the doctor in the hospital to not give me a cesarean, because I was very stubborn. I was unmovable in that. And I'm so glad I was educated enough to go against her, what she was telling me I had to do. Nah. So, and that's the thing. We could be here all day about that. I don't want to, because I'm very passionate. I'm very, very passionate about that. I am very, very passionate about that. And I will not speak about it. So, because women, it's really unfortunate what happens. You have a lot of women dying during birth because they're neglected. There's not enough support. There's just not enough support in that space. And that is big part of my mission, is to rally for that support. A woman should birth where and how she wants, and nobody should push medical procedures unnecessarily. I mean, it's a huge topic, and it's funny we're talking about, because it's Jack of Hearts.
Jack of Hearts, exactly.
Children.
That's what I was about to say. Like, no, it is perfect.
It's children. Yeah, it's that whole child, and it's protecting the child, because what happens when a mother dies at birth? Now you have a whole human being with no mama.
And where's your nine of spades? Where's the nine of spades?
Tragic, huh?
Where's the nine of spades for you?
For me, the nine of spades is my Venus card for life. For the Jack of Hearts, it's the Venus card.
Yeah, so that is birthing.
Yeah. Very passionate about it.
No, but Gina, I'm like, well, gosh, aren't we going through a rebirth collectively? Isn't there like a collective rite of passage happening right now?
Well, you definitely see more like women. You see more birthing centers popping up, more midwives popping up, more doulas popping up. You see it. You realize it is a whole village. I mean, I had my second daughter. I chose not to have her in a hospital. I chose to do a water birth, and I chose a doula. And I'm very glad I did. That's probably how I made it through that, and I even switched in the middle of my pregnancy. I had an OBGYN, but probably about halfway through my pregnancy, almost actually to my third trimester, I let them go and went with the midwife. So that's the thing. There's choices. And I think you're seeing what's happening to women birthing in hospitals. You're seeing, I
think you froze, honey. Jane? Yeah, you're definitely seeing a lot of changes. I have several friends that are midwives and having babies in beautiful ways in tubs in their yards and things like that. For me, when I was pregnant with the twins, they were my babies, they were my last ones. So I too wanted to go and have a baby in a tub and do all that stuff, right? And I had set up a midwife and had my whole thing laid out, thought I was, sitting on top of the world. And I went hiking. I was working at a rehab at the time. I went hiking when I came home, and I went to sleep, and I was 26 weeks pregnant, and one of the baby's waters broke. So I ended up having to go to a hospital where women were holding their bodies like to hold babies. Like, I mean, people tried to have babies in so many ways. Like, it was such a fascinating time. It was 8 weeks that I was in a hospital in Valhalla, New York. But I got such a taste of what birth is, what it is to women to have these babies, what they're willing to sacrifice to have the babies, whereas for me, I just got pregnant because I said I wanted to get pregnant. And so a lot of times I got pregnant, I didn't even mean to get pregnant. Like I always got pregnant, you know what I mean? So it was like a fertile myrtle, it's just like I was here to have kids, whether I wanted to or not, you know what I mean? So it's like that was gonna happen. But I really had such a different reverence for what it was to receive life through you because of being in that hospital and being at that time. So I bring it in to say that we still can trust, no matter what the silliness is, that it's happening for us and that we get to use our voice. Because me too, with the twins, only 2 pounds, I'd had 2 9-pound babies, and they're telling me I need a C-section for these 3-pound babies together. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I don't need a C-section for a 3-pound baby. So I had to have a voice, and thankfully there was no C-section. But the thing is, wherever we get, whatever experiences we have, they're always helping us integrate and see more information about how to be true. To me, that's what it's about, because I learned so much being in that hospital, things I would have never learned. I met my real depression because it slowed me down so much. Like I kicked my ass. So these twins didn't grow in the same heaviness that my other children grew in, because I was forced to like meet parts of myself there, while making freaking rugs and shit, trying to figure out what to do sitting in a bed.
Oh, because you had pre-labor.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
So the water kept replenishing, which was another fascinating thing. The water kept replenishing. So I stayed there, said, if you could just get to 34 weeks, Madeline. And I did. I mean, I went in 3 times because every time I got dehydrated, my body went into labor. So I had to rehydrate me. But it was just a fascinating thing. And again, I don't know. I wish I knew cards then or what it was, but really crazy stuff happened because, as you guys know, I'm a birth mother and I had a child when I was a younger girl. And that was a little bit traumatic. It was a little bit intense. You know what I mean? Like it was definitely not where I thought I was going. And it took me out of my center pretty good. And by the 3rd time I went in to have these babies, because the twins, I kept going into premature labor and everybody had to come. And it was 2 hours away from the house. Like it was a big deal. And nobody came to see me. So it was a really interesting time in my life. But when they took me in the 3rd time, I started to get this panic. I said, something's going on in this room. And I finally realized that from the clock, the color of the curtain, the wall, it was the exact same looking room that I was in when I had those first babies. Like, how does the universe conspire in that way? How do those things happen? It helped me reclaim so much by being there. So finally, I did the work there and I said, please don't put me in that room again. I don't want to be in that room. But I did do work there. I had somebody come, an energy healer, doula, who sat with me and met with me to reclaim myself in that place where I'd gotten broken and discerned that I wasn't worthy, so I could be worthy for the next ones. So I just bring in a story like that because I think it's amazing how the universe continues to set us up to reclaim everything and to live in the wholeness we are. So no matter how messed up it is, I'm going to believe in the universe. I lost you, Gina. Sorry. My babble went on too long. My mother just told me the other day, she goes, why do you got to talk in circles, Madeline? So sorry.
No, you're fine. Jenny, I don't know if you may be muted.
I think she's back. We can't hear you now. The long and short, Gina, is that it's always set up for us to learn. And it's always set up for us to grow if we're paying attention.
No, she's still muted. But no, you're not.
Gina?
Oh, maybe it's me. Hold on.
No, you're not muted. I can hear you, Rashad.
Oh, it could be it could be on the Bluetooth or something, Gina. But no, we can't hear you.
Nothing changed, right? So it was there and then it wasn't. That's weird, G.
Hold on, so I'm gonna put you on mute and then I'll mute you.
Your picture's not up, Rashad. You know that, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm fine with it. I just didn't know if you know.
But no, we still can't hear you, Gina. I don't know why. She whenever came back. I'm gonna you can go out and come back in again. I'm gonna do it this time and then come back in.
Me too.
No, just her, I believe. But no, it's all. I think it's all still in the nines. Is in the nine of spades. Just the nines, as you were saying, like everything. The nines is universal understanding. Completion. Like you knew you was on this journey. You completed that journey. You went through that path of learning. And you came back as someone new.
I was 39 at the time, so yep. Gina, she's back. We don't hear her though. She can hear us though. Weird. So where's the sound? Is there anything else? When you check your mic when you first come in, does it let you check it there, Gina? Does it say it's working? You know how when you first come into the room, you check your mic?
Or on the computer system on the volume. But yeah, the nines is universal understanding. From the ace of spades to the nine of spades. That's why I say the three of diamonds could have like come into this lifetime with a bad birth or hard birth as well because of the nines. And the ace of spades is I'll look at the life path of the three of diamonds as because they question and they have a lot of near death experiences as well. Kind of like what Gina said, it is a thin line between life and death, even within giving birth. It's funny she said that is like the closest thing you are to dying, because it's a nine. Even the nine in itself is representation of cutting and surgeries.
Oh, wow.
So that whole process of life and death goes through the nines, and it's being the Jack of Hearts week, right? And we think about using our instincts, knowing that we've been here before. I think, especially like mothers and giving birth, like that process, that's like a inherited like spiritual connection you have within this life. Like yeah, you're taught that, but it's like you're not like you're creating a baby, like your cells in your body. Like there is this intuition that your body knows what to do to create a baby. Like you're not like telling it to do this thing, right?
True story. It's like, okay, we know what to do now. And it's like, just let it happen. Wait a minute. Yeah. Wait, we get more money if you let us give a C-section. Well, no, we're gonna let it happen.
Like no, I know what to do. Like no, I think I'll be fine. Like
yeah, pretty sure it's gonna come out. It's just like when you got to go to the bathroom. It might take a minute, but it's gonna eventually come out. All right, Gina's giving us notes. And the nine of spades transforms into the 10 of diamonds. So it's an increase. One becomes two. Oh. One becomes two people. The mother and the child. Yeah. And that is the thing about endings. It's almost always an increase. It's almost always something more that comes and that's one of the things that I think is so wise is to do your endings as consciously as you can. So your beginnings can be so fresh because it's always adding more beginnings or wish fulfilled. Definitely.
Yeah. And since Jupiter's wisdom, and the nine of spades, like talking about 1 and 2, it has the Mercury, the children is the two of hearts. So yeah, it is an increase in abundance, and what sits in what I always say is like the example of Kevin Samuels is this guy. He's a antagonist, protagonist, who knows, but he talks about women and sometimes in a very blunt way, as I think of any like Queen of Spades, just like very wise, based on their experiences. He's very blunt, but he's here for women. So when you look at the 10 of diamonds and it's in the center, like Prince was a 10 of diamonds, like he had nothing but spiritual women around him. So it is like the essence of femininity. It sits Jupiter, even like Sagittarius And like some size men, like he also had like this what would you call that? This like male, feminine,
Androgynous.
uh androgynous type of aura, around him as well, with
Hmm.
those queens there.
Hmm.
So and yeah, like the one and the zero, like in the essence is like the splitting, like it is defined as man and God, as well in the spiritual context.
Hmm. Yeah, Gina's saying those queens. Exactly. And I appreciate that there's energies that do that. And I hear you too, Gina. You put in the chat there that the death of yourself is the maiden, right? So before you have children, then after you have children, like the change of your life. I mean, even joining in a marriage or joining in everything, once you join, you let go of what you were when you were separate from that thing, because the me becomes part of the we. Like there's this new word somebody was calling it we. Like, so it's not me to we. It's like you bring the me into the we, like they roll together. And so you're transformed, but there's also a grieving, just like this little kid I know was telling me how sad he was about leaving five. He'll never be five again. Like he really liked five. It's going to be a hard thing to let it go. So like, who even thinks to acknowledge that? And then of course he's not going to get, paralyzed by it. He's just going to have a moment saying, man, I really like being five. Like I really like being the maiden or being this or being that. And now I'm this and that, what I mean? I'm more as I go into it. Right. So it's for sure like that. Death and rebirth, for sure. And
Yeah,
joining back in, like nothing, like you don't have to give yourself up. I think one of the things that makes relationships such a terrain of game playing is like you think you're going to lose yourself there. I'm not going to lose myself to you. I'm not going to get lost in it. And I guess we have, and that's why we say it. But I believe there's a way to lean in, as Diamond would say, and kind of meet it and see what's there for the new version of you that wants to grow true. And sometimes it's hard to do because it's trigger city, man. Like everything that blocks love is going to be there saying, hi, don't forget about me. Remember the time oh yeah, don't forget. Like that's what happens when you say yes to a full connection to something else. All the reasons that you're afraid to connect are like, like they just like take you over.
yeah, and looking at just the Jack of Hearts and it's the sacrifice, and it transforms into the four of spades, and I have to think how like the four of spades and the 10 of diamonds are like the unity, I think, as far as like the foundation, the home, and it's like like you say, it's the us, and the separation of just me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a literal sacrifice for your family and those all around you, and it's labor, it's hard work, it's not, I think people misunderstand like what relationships it is and like the sacrifice it takes to have a home. I think I and I always I don't like talking about my generation like that, but it in the essence of today's current social norms as far as what relationships are,
Mm-hmm.
there's no balance of we know that like this relationship is work, it's I've even with Therese when she was talking on what was that,
The clubhouse. Yeah,
Clubhouse.
that was a
Yeah,
great share. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you can see how that partnership, which is a two, right? It's a job, it's a work. They did those things. They communicated. It wasn't me moving just by myself. It was about how can we make this work. Like we came into commit. you know, like so if I have to sacrifice or if I have to, you know, let something go. I'm trying to think of the right word, but the sixes, when I think of the sixes, Jenny, you know what I'm trying to say, but like with the twos, it's all about compromise. Yeah, that's where we're compromising. What is the compromises that has to take place with negotiation, to put things into balance, or bring things into balance.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that? Did Jenny say anything? I'm sorry, Jenny.
No, I don't hear her say anything. Here she is. It's like you're in a contract with another of the twos.
Yeah, it's twos are contracts. Even the two of diamonds, it's a contract.
Yeah, I'm always told I'm a two of diamonds with some part of the way it works to be me, and I'm never sure how that works, but I've heard it a bunch of times in different readings that there's a two of diamonds relationship. I definitely know that partnership and joining in is my favorite way. And I think what happens is even when people join into strong energies, and God knows I'm one of them, that you feel like you thwart yourself in the light of the strong energy. And I think that's part of the self-mastery and the ability to speak for yourself and hold yourself to what you want to bring in, and yesterday I had a meeting with the Jack of Hearts girl. She came so we could do some calendar work for the farm. And she did some really good, like, hey, you said this and I would like it to be like this. Like, she came back at me really strong and clear about what she felt and what she wanted. And I was like, nice, Kara, good job. Okay, totally. Yeah, I didn't even see that. Sometimes I'm just moving so fast in my fur ball, but I'm not necessarily listening all the way. So thanks for being strong enough to be like, yo, just in case. And she didn't, do it in any disrespect. She was just straight up. And I was like, totally. Yeah, let's switch it like that. You're right. I didn't hear it like that. Thank you. So
That's the diamond, like, it needs a council.
That's why I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, the King of Diamonds, I think kings, when you look at what it is, like, it's funny, like, we look at all these kings and queens and all these concepts, but what if you go back in time and there was never, like, these like, in essence, these kingdoms, as they say, it was just people almost, but
yeah, of course they are just people. Like, it's like Miles was talking about projection in the couples fishbowl the other day, and talking about positive projection. Like, when you're famous and all this energy comes to you all the time because of the way people think about you and talk about you, you're like, that's a lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of projection. Even really positive projection is a weight in a way. It's like, that's one of the things that, we sell the idea that someone else has it. And if you admire them or get near them, you get it too. And I'm totally sitting where we are it and we have to be it. But there is a sensitivity to meet around the world and see people I can trust in a council that can kind of inform me and help me understand to make good decisions when it's my turn to make good decisions. Please, God, let that be. Because by no means would I want my arrogance to take over my tree.
Yeah.
I want the reflection. I need the reflection of the others. But
yeah,
not,
and that's how to
I can't do too many because it gets too much.
You say you can't what?
I can't do too many, like the council, like a team, like a people that I can, because if it gets too much, then everybody's in. I'm like, you guys can go deal with what comes next. Let's get this real clear. Tell me what's up, and then go to the next level and do what we're going to do. And then the next level, because when it's everyone all at once and everybody's coming in like that, it can be really chaotic, and it's hard to really come to any type of discernment for me intuitively because all the energy's around me.
The 12 and you're the 13. The king is the 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you need the 12 disciples. I was just watching this video earlier, and that's one reason the whole health thing really came to aspects. But yeah, and it was talking about the 12 optic nerves, But yeah, it is like the king of diamonds is like a real focus energy, real focus values. I think that's the only way that you can be a king, but is to have some type of focus, and then it always has the best counsel, the best people, all the kings, and you're talking about the royals. I think that's why you kind of fixated, like, where's the other worlds?
Oh, you know what I thought about today? Like, somebody gave me back a deck of tarot cards that I'd given them a long time ago. And I was looking for the proper book for it, because part of why I gave them the cards is it didn't have the reading book to go with it. And they were just a set that I've had for a long time. And so they came back to me and I was like, so what happened with tarot that there's 78 cards? Why is there those 26 cards and then the suits, right? Because you have the regular deck and the 52, and then those things like the Fool, the Hanged Man, the Lust, the Lovers, like all those things, like those are almost like life events that happen as well, like or ways that you process. And that 26 that it is just like the runes. The runes have 25 runes, but they also do this whole initiation process, these stages that we go through. That's what the tarot cards do. That's what the runes do. So I was like, what's up with this? Because I'm also, like you said, this royal family. It's like, how do the energies work to make a stronger interplay? How do they work so that they're not giving people the message that when you have the power, you can be an idiot too? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we serve it in a way that it's learned like mastery? Like the way the cards talk about it. I don't know how much you guys know about
Are
tarot.
you
So I don't.
you saying how do you do the tarot cards like that? I'm sorry. What's the
Well, yeah, I know I went all over the place. So I'm just saying that I thought it was interesting that there's 26 extra cards in the tarot deck, and how that's an interesting thing that they added those other cards in a way to tell this story. And they are cards that represent like actual times, like things that happen, or
Mhm.
your form. Like my card is the high priestess. You know, my name and my numbers all mean high priestess. So that helps me be informed of how my energy works. But then I'm still in the day of all those cards. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. The tarot cards came in, and when he said 78, I was like, why isn't it 52? Why did they add more? What are those cards? So my brain just went there. And I wanted
No, you're fine. No, I know the how you, arcana,
minor arcana and
yeah,
the major arcana.
right. The edition, like you saying, they are events, and that's why some people look at the tarot, or they like the tarot because it seemingly gives them more information. But I think the um,
Oh, I think the
cardology
cards are
is
better at
also in the same essence. You say what?
I think the destiny cards, or these cards, are more informative to me than the tarot was. Tarot was helpful to my intuition and kind of hearing things that I couldn't see, like giving me information I didn't have. And when I read it, it activated it. But the cards, as far as a predicting kind of tool, or just seeing cycles and stuff like that, I feel like the playing cards and what you guys talk about really recognizes the cycles of the 7s and the 13s very well. It gives us a good sense. What do you think, Gina? Well, Gina can't speak. She's the muted version of Gina today. What do you think about the tarot cards? Can you hear us? She's got her hands up. So what do you think about the tarot cards and the way it works, as far as, well, really what I was saying was the cards that we're talking about, they are very good at predicting and helping you see cycles and get a sense of things. I mean, you know that better than anybody. Right? So that's really, I touched on tarot because of numbers, but I'm coming back to regular cards, and I'm talking about the power they have to help us see and get a sense of what's coming. And I was going to talk about your readings and what you do. If you want to write what I should say, I'll be your voice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. I look at I can't as far as a weekly. The cards are good. I'm not gonna lie, daily, weekly. And I can see like that's way better, more insightful. Like the tarot is more energetic and spread out. But as far as like a daily and weekly, yeah, the the cards are crazy. And even just learning and looking at hindsight, is pretty dope. I also have like I came under the influence when I first got a tarot reading. She was like, "Yeah, like you don't want to like. I know you can read yourself too, but I'm not. I haven't. I've never worked with the tarot in that way. On reading myself on a daily thing. But for anyone else getting reading, she was like, you don't want to like do tarot too many times or too much. It's like
No.
once a year or every other now and then. Like
That's
I
how
want
I
to get a tarot reading coming up, but I haven't.
Yeah, I know. I've gone to maybe 2, 3, 4 tarot readings that someone did for me, but there's something that they're like my own private deck, and then I open them up once, twice a year, and something like that. And it's just kind of like just getting a little set of things, like my medicine cards, the animal medicine cards. They're just kind of help my intuition get stirred sometimes. I really find that they say words or bring things forward that help me remember or integrate things. So that's how I find that.
Yeah. No, you're
So,
saying.
but I love the weekly and the way that the cards are being read. I know Gina's doing readings for people on like a monthly basis, where she gives them a sense of what their cards are and how things could play out and what energies are coming into play. And you can find Gina at Gina Guided by the Cards, Rashad's doing readings too. What kind of readings do you like to do, Rashad? Where do you enjoy doing the readings the most?
Yearlies, just your birth spread as well, because I learned a lot from the different people and the different like astrology and those perspectives. But I like doing yearlies. I don't do weeklies as much. But yeah, and I kind of check in with people every now and then. Like once I give a reading, it's like I talk to you kind of throughout the year. And yes, Casey, the playing cards are more direct. Yeah, like especially in the daily, is you can kind of really see it very clear. So yeah, Gina, how do you? I know she's talked about the weeklies.
She said that the weekly readings she does are based on the individual spread, the transits that are happening for them astrologically, but interpreted through the cards or via the cards.
So you use astrology also? You look at their astrology?
Yeah. And then she gives them in recordings, so you have them to listen to. So she'll go into it and take down the information in her own wise way, give you a recording to listen to that you can use to help kind of make your choices. So boy, that's pretty nice. That's like being like the royals up there, having some kind of a special helper like that. That's pretty exciting. So, and I think it's like under $200 a month. It's definitely reasonable. And if you want to know more about it, hit her up. Hit her up. And I don't know if people around who listen to this will be in the area, but I'm hosting sisterhoods twice a month, and it's a really fun place to come together and like be in the good frequency together and to raise our vibration. And we dance and we laugh and we tell stories. So that's something I'm doing and really enjoying. And the couples fishbowl's off the hook right now. Like what people are coming in with and how deep it's going. I had no idea that I was going to do that. Yep, that's what Therese was talking about when we were in the Zoom room. Therese, who's come into so much light and clarity. She does a weekly reading with Gina for over a year, I think she's a year and a half, and she's teaching classes and a weekend of cardology. So if there's an interest in learning about cardology, do you know Therese's information, Gina, to link or say? Is it?
I don't.
Oh, there she is. She's back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What? That's weird.
Therese opened the door. Thanks, Therese.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what Cassie said, the playing cards are way more direct than tarot to me. I agree with Rashad. It's an energetic, yeah, it can help you strengthen your intuition, but the cards are basic to the person, to their, it's the same thing as like getting your transits via astrology. If you've got Mars doing something, you can see it in the cards based on your Mars card for that week. I just interpret it through the cards. I could look at their probably weekly transits and interpret that too, but I'm way more versed with the cards than I am astrology.
No, and you're great. And I just brought it in and look where it got us. It was perfect.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it is. I mean, I do it for myself. I'm always looking at my weekly spread. And so I knew it was helping me. And that's when I started offering, because I do birth chart readings. I'll do your birth card reading, not birth chart. I'm sorry. Birth card readings, the relationship readings, children's readings, but like through the parent, looking at their card or their compatibility with their kids. Those are other readings I like to do. But the weekly ones have been, like I said, it's a recording. It's not, me on the phone with them. I send them a recording via email for their week, right before their week starts. And I base it on when their week starts. Not everybody doesn't get their reading on a, Sunday night at midnight or Monday morning. It's based on when your week starts, because that's when your transits happen. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's been really an incredible resource. I'm definitely ready to sign up and get mine on a regular. I'm excited to see what I can learn by doing it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It definitely helps to, and it's not about predicting. It's more about just giving you an insight of the energy that's showing up, and then you choose how you move.
How you play your card. You get to know your hand, and then how you play your card.
Mm-hmm. And you start to, like Therese was speaking about in the room, you start to see the cycles and the patterns, because it's just one plate to the next with the cards. So you start to see, if you follow the plates, you'll see your own weekly spread too. you know, so and you can really see, it's crazy. Like I have one client, it always shows up in people, like everybody, the way that, like, 'cause we know her other, you know, people in her life, you know, I know their cards. And so it's just fascinating how so much, like down to the person, you know, and that person's card showing up in your spread that week. So it's really interesting to see.
Like that person in the family, like shows up whenever the card is present.
All the time. All the flipping time. And that's when you really can't, you know what? You're like, you know what, universe?
Yeah, that's surrender.
I can't even make this shit up at all. Like, it's just crazy how you see that. You know, like, okay, for instance, if you know your mom's card, right? And, you know, for me, I have my mom as a 10 of clubs. And when I see a 10 of clubs in that week, I'm like, I'm probably going to hear from my mom this week. Sure enough, what do you think happens? Or I'll reach out to my mom. So you see it all the time, all the time.
Nice.
Yep. That's
so there's a
tracking your kids. If you know your kids' cards and you see your kid, you know, and it's being a Jack of Hearts week, you've probably been dealing with your kids a lot more.
Tristan's Holman has impacted wisdom teeth and has to go into the doctor for surgery. Tristan's in a big, heavy way. It's a big kid's weekend.
Yeah. Yep. And like Cassie just said, I love how you can go back to any time in your life with the play. Yes, you can.
Yeah, that is a really cool.
That is probably the first thing you should do when you step into this space. Is that's what I did. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like it was like, holy crap. That makes you believe this. Like you just really open yourself up to everything.
Yeah, I did a lot of times too, and it was pretty fascinating.
My car accidents, my children being born, everything is there. So
yeah. Well, then obviously we're going to continue to talk about the cards because it's we see the wisdom and we're excited to learn and grow more mastery in it. So that's exciting. I'm happy for that. We got a tracking system. We got something kind of giving us a sense of at least what the loop is that we're living in. I mean, I'm still not sure if this these solar spreads aren't the matrix, you know what I mean? And that we're not meant to evolve in a different way. I'm still not completely convinced, but I think learning how to play the game that we're in and understanding how the energy cycle and being able to play your cards on the high side and be who you're here to be. Yes, please. But I am curious what happens when we're not tied up in the same way we're tied up now.
I think that's what the cards actually can help you be, is free from that, to be honest with you. Because, you know, for me, I was stuck a lot. And I think the cards, like the way things play out in my life and how I, you know, understand certain, like, it's just, I will say this system, these cards, just, and it's not just the cards. I'm doing, you know, diving more into astrology because of the connection of the two. And there's so many other modalities too. You know, human design is something that I'm very interested in learning one day, but I just can't take on anything else at this moment. But I'd love to tap into that because just a few things that I've heard, I'm like, God dang, that's pretty spot on for me. Like,
I'd love to invite Rainey to one of our mornings sometime because she's great. I would love to.
I think it's fascinating that the few things that I have unpacked with that, I'm like, holy crap, that is so true. What does that mean? So, and I think it's just another, just as we always talk about, if it brings you more understanding of who you are, that to me, it gives you more, I don't like the word power, but it's just like, I feel like a lot of
agency. It gives you more agency over your character.
Yeah. I think you have more, just you have a better understanding of how you move, how you respond. And, you know, being a Jack of Hearts, I would be very stuck and very emotional. And I've learned that, you know, to be able to be free. I feel like this has given me more freedom than anything else. This is, you know, how I've become closer to God than anything else, you know, which I think is just closer to who you are, you know, the higher essence of yourself as well. So for me, it's very, very, very powerful, you know. And I know people look at the cards as, oh, they're, you know, it's the devil or whatever. I'm like, actually, this, you know, and I grew up Catholic. I grew up in a church for the most part. And I feel more connected to God than I have ever in my entire life. So.
I hear that.
And Casey,
I think that. Go ahead, Nisha.
No, I was going to ask Casey how she can She said, I was so confused until all of these modalities. Can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit more? And go ahead, Madeline.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
I
a
was
jack of clubs, so she probably needed to understand. Being a jack, you're like, "What the fuck?" No. But as you dive in and understanding who you are and how her probably mind works, and helped her understand herself. The jacks are the initiation too, so it's that bridge from to that mastery. Honestly, it
Mhm,
really is a bridge to the queen king of mastery.
that royal family again.
Hmm.
But yeah, I agree. My best friend is a jack of clubs, and she's really curious now, but she's so confused. She's just started to listen, and she's like,
Hmm.
"Oh my God, Madeline, I'm so confused." So I hear that. But I want to lean into what you're saying, Gina. That yeah, I mean, there is this way that for as long as I was growing, I was like pushing to believe there was a better world, but to accept that this is the heaven on earth. I just keep hearing that song again in my head. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Heaven is a place on earth. And it's like, I think that's really what it's about is the mastery and the understanding you can have of the cycles and the way it grows. So I felt as you were talking, like my like someday be like this day. Like, why are we just like right here? Do you know what I mean? So I lean in and say yes to that. And I thank you for that.
Hmm. Yeah, this is to me. This is how you free yourself. Honestly, whatever modality you use, I don't, I don't. It doesn't have to be the cards. It can be astrology. It can be human design. It can be a blend of everything you want to tarot. It can be all of it. Whatever brings you a better understanding of.
Oh, she froze again. We've got a very interesting little connection with Gina. We don't know what happens, but she came in strong for there for a little bit, but now she's frozen. But I agree that the cards have great wisdom to help us grow free and the clarity of who we are and what we're here to be and how it's all energy. So I'm excited to be in the energy of learning. And thank you, Rashad and Gina, for making the time for this. I know we started late, but we should probably start to let go. As you heard, both Gina and Rashad are available for readings. We'll be in the Zoom again next Thursday, like we are in the mornings, and Tuesday nights on Clubhouse, where we have the card table for self mastery, where we continue these conversations about what we're learning about the cards and how to co create a foundation to use the cards for just good relation, just right relation, people being able to respect and honor each other as they are. So, what's up, Rashad? You ready to say goodbye?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the conversation and honest space, just universal understanding. Actually, I think I had the nine of spades today. Let me check.
I have the ace of spades. That's crazy. I have the ace of spades. Rashad!
We're talking about death and rebirth. That's the well, I had it yesterday, so I had it yesterday, but still, that is just interesting. Just the process of the ace of spades and the nine of spades,
Yeah.
and I have a king four of diamonds today, which has a king of spades and as Pluto. So talking
Oh.
about confusion, right? and this coming to God moment. So I appreciate the trip to God today, and
Thank you.
and the full circle of understanding.
And
And
thank you, Cassie. Gina's card was a jack of clubs today, so she must have called that jack of clubs in.
right.
So thanks for the questions. All
But
right.
guess we'll be here next week. If y'all have anything, just let us know. And was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, no, just thank you.
All right. Thank y'all. Have a nice day.
Take care.